Golair, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind.
Hello, Diegwich, bonjour, ni hao, konnichiwa, guten tag and privyet to you all wherever you're listening in. What started as a message to 10 clubs has now expanded to more than 50 clubs globally from all continents. The journey through Loaf 2 GAA Global continues this week as we move on to our next destination in the GAA world. So come with me on the GAA journey of a lifetime and meet clubs from Canada to Argentina, South Africa to Gibraltar, Bermuda to the North Pole, New Zealand to Kuwait, Knoxville to Qatar, and literally everywhere in between. So grab the passports, grab the bags, it's time to go.
On Slice 28, we have a bit of state rivalry going on as we move through Texas to meet former Sligo football star Adrian Brett and find out all about San Antonio GAA. I find out about his Sligo career, the life at San Antonio, convincing basketballers to wear O'Neill shorts, size 17.5 shoes, playing with St Brendan's in London, changing kits like Man Utd, Maurice Fitz beating Mayo, managed by Mick Bohan, playing against the legendary Westmeath man Damien Healy, the international mix of the club, the Hardy Bucks, Stone Cold Steve Austin, rivalries with the other Texan clubs, the USGAA and much more. But first as usual, let's find our way through the Texan city of San Antonio and see what it has to offer us. Bon Sultas. A 4-hour drive from Dallas to San Antonio, the city of St. Anthony. Historically the area was known as Yanaguana, freshwater area, by the residing Payaya Indians before the Spanish came along and named the place San Antonio on June the 13th, 1691, the feast day of St. Anthony himself. Since then the city has gone through a variety of various imperial and regional ownerships, from the original Spanish Empire, through the Mexican Empire and the United Mexican Empire, and then as part of the famous Republic of Texas. In 1846 they became part of the USA before the breakaway Confederate States of 1861 began. This only lasted 4 years and San Antonio and Texas have been part of the USA ever since. Given their proximity to each other, much of the history from the last slice on Dallas also has some linkage to San Antonio. One of those of course was the construction of the railroad which ultimately opened up San Antonio just like it did for Dallas. It was also around that period that the influx of German immigrants to the region exploded, leaving an estimated 1/3 of the city being German descent at some point. Even today, Texas German is still a local language in the city. In modern times, the city has become a growing area for call centres and manufacturing sectors. The city also hosts many well-known companies and a few of the Fortune 500 names, the likes of iHeartMedia, Microsoft, Boeing and Wells Fargo. Of course, the opportunity to visit the Alamo and the famous Riverwalk is enough to attract more than 20 million visitors a year. A random one of interest is perhaps the Fairmont Hotel. In 1985, the hotel entered the Guinness Book of Records after being the heaviest building ever moved intact when it went 3 blocks south of the Alamo over the space of 4 days at a cost of around $600,000 at the time, a little over 1.6 million today. As you may have heard in the last slice, Ali mentioned Texas and food, so since we're heading out of Texas after this, it would be rude not to mention the state's famous cuisine list. The famous Texas barbecue is well known worldwide. This comes from a cowboy tradition of using colonial style pits to cook the tough ranch meat, with beef brisket being the most common. Then you also have the famous mix known as Tex-Mex, often consisting of the likes of tacos and breakfast tacos, fajitas, enchiladas and chili. Chili is the actual state dish of Texas. Other Tex-Mex aspects include tostados, guacamole, chili con queso, chimichangas, burritos, and my own favourite, nachos. If you haven't heard about the other options, check out the last day's slice with Ali and Eddie, as I'm now starving writing this. By the way, the famous Dr. Pepper was invented in Texas, while the frozen margarita machine was also invented in Dallas. Some famous names from the city include the likes of Robert Rodriguez, director of some episodes of The Mandalorian, Michelle Rodriguez of Fast and the Furious, Henry Thomas, better known as Elliot from E.T., singer Christopher Cross and John Allen Nelson of Baywatch and 24. Other names include iconic actress Joan Crawford, wrestler Robert Swenson, who also played Bane in the 1997 Batman film, and singer Krista Bell. On the sporting side, the city of San Antonio hosts 3 professional teams, 1 major league and 2 minor league. Perhaps best known are the 5-time NBA kings, the San Antonio Spurs. They've had notable names over their near 55-year history such as Avery Johnson, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard. They also once had the notable name of Dennis Rodman on their books for a brief but effective stint. The Missions have won the minor baseball league 14 times, while the newly founded San Antonio FC compete in the US Championship Soccer League. San Antonio GAA began in early 2011 thanks to the likes of Joan Moody, Jason Binkley, Tyler Tully, and the man you will hear soon, former Sligo footballer Adrian Brett. The club is nicknamed the San Patricios, a good mix of Irishness, Mexican history and Texan spirit. Today the club has football for both men and women and a hurling side also. So it is wonderful to have these guys on as they celebrate their 10th anniversary as a club. And so to that end, let's meet Adrian from Sligo and find out all about the crack in San Antonio GAA in Texas. Adrian, how are things?
Hey Jason, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How's all out there?
Oh, not. We're having some rain this week, so we're happy. We don't get rain for months at a time out here, so.
Jeez, we're getting sun here today. We don't get that for months at a time, as you know well. So.
Yeah, I don't complain.
Yeah, how's all out in San Antonio?
It's good. It's interesting because the whole COVID thing is nearly gone. It's
right.
Everyone's back. You know, very, very few people wearing masks. So it's kind of nearly completely opposite to what you hear back in Ireland. So it's a hard one to figure out what is the best thing. But everything's opened, has been for quite some time. So.
And you're a Sligo man originally.
Yeah, South Sligo. A small place called Club at Home is Clunacool. So it's probably one of the smallest clubs back there. But.
Yeah, I can't say. I've probably driven past it. I can't say I know it that well, to be honest.
Probably not driven past it now, unless you got in South Sligo.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's great tradition back there. So, fun playing there growing up.
What was their career like? What did you do? Is it hurling or football or?
All football. I done a little bit of hurling when I was a kid. We used to go to the Féiles, but there's no hurling in Sligo back then. And, as you can see now, Sligo are becoming a powerhouse in hurling. So it's great to see.
Powerhouse might be a strong word, but yeah, they're getting there. They're like us, yeah.
Yeah, well, I like to say, we've won a couple of All-Irelands in the last few years and, leave it at that.
Yeah, so. That's good enough. I'll take that. Yes, Christy Ring, I suppose, is kind of our level these days.
It's the only thing I really play now. I had a bad injury when I was about 20 playing football. Right. I played on it. So it was a knee injury. So, I've retired 15 times and you keep going back out playing, but I can puck around with a hurl now because you're not having to kick a ball. So
yeah,
there's a few of us here trying to get a bit of a team going on the hurling side. So it's interesting.
And what brought you out to San Antonio originally?
A complex ex-wife story. So I came here about 11 years ago. And then 4 of us, myself, Tyler, Jason, and Joan Moody, set up the club or had the idea of doing it. It was interesting because, there's not a lot of Irish here. It's a very transient city. It's a big military city. So we've had a huge amount of turnover, which, is good and bad. It's great because you get an awful lot of people have come through the club and seen the club. Yeah. But on the flip side, you don't have a whole lot of you've got a base of a handful of players that have been here through the whole time. If you get military folks, they're gone in 3 years. A lot of the Irish who lived here has kind of been here and moved on. So there's kind of a core group. So you have a lot of changeover. There's not a huge amount of Irish. There's probably 10, 15 have played with the club through the years. So it's been small, which has been great. We won a national junior shield our first year at national. So it was basically a last round and we done a shield. And I think there's 3, 4 maybe Irish guys out of a panel of about 23.
Wow.
And a couple of boys who didn't really play Gaelic football until they came here and kind of picked up then. So, Irish, Scottish, English, Welsh, American, Mexican,
Jeez.
A guy from Honduras has played Hako for years and years with the club. I know there's probably a lot more out there, but yeah, we've a good international mix.
Yeah. And how did the Hondurans and Mexicans, how did they take to the game originally?
It actually not bad.
Okay.
It's for me when I first came here, it was kind of a bit of an eye opener coaching because I'd have coached underage and stuff at home or in London. You'd have been used to them having a kind of a base understanding of the sport, but you're starting adults and you're trying to teach them something new. And we have an inside joke in the club that some of the guys were uncoachable, and they didn't like to hear that. But it is a different concept because you've got adults who they know best, so it's not like a kid, and trying to teach them something new or tell them to do something isn't always the easiest thing to do in the world. But we have a lot of fun with it. It's a pretty social sport here. And that's what we try and do, build a club both socially and on the field. We're lucky enough there's a Texas League down here. You've got a team in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, and for years, in our 12 years, 10 years now, we have a competition each year. Over the years, the different teams have, got stronger, weaker over the, our first few years were, Austin and Dallas were probably stronger than a bigger number of Irish, but we're all competitive. We're now, you've probably a bigger divide where, some of the teams have probably gone up into, junior A and intermediate at national level. So there's good footballers and good hurlers down here. The women's teams are pretty strong as well. So, when we have these Texas League events, you got a lot of sport played in one day. You've had 4 teams, men's, women's, to be a bit of hurling now and again. So it's good. Our biggest problem is the heat. So perfect time is the summer. Yeah. But here it's 40 degrees and
it's 4.0 degrees here. So
yeah. And at home if it's 25, they're talking about water breaks, where here it's 40 and
yeah, we're melting here if it hits 25. There's bits of us falling off here and there. So is it Fionn McCool? Isn't that the Dallas team? I think they're actually scheduled to come on, I think.
Okay, yeah.
What's your opinion of them? I should probably ask so they can get back at you then.
If you're getting them on, I would just take everything with a pinch of salt. I won't lift everything here from them. Nah, they're good guys. There's guys there who've been there since we've been involved, and it's a good club. They're a big club. They've got a big Irish community up there as well. And Austin is very strong. Austin's one of the fastest growing cities in America, and they probably have seen an awful lot of Irish come in. And then Houston again is another good setup there. Houston's a big city as well. So, trying to do that when, some folks could be probably an hour each side of you.
Yeah.
So that's probably where San Antonio you can get around easy enough. It's a big city. San Antonio is probably 2 million. The greater San Antonio area.
Well, a few Mullingar, so.
yeah. So you can get around. So biggest problem down here is getting playing fields. When it doesn't.
I was going to ask, what's the story? Like, is it local kind of council job? You have to rent it out, or
local parks? But if you don't rent for 3 months, it's 35 degrees average for them 3 months. You're playing on dirt. It's basically dirt all the time.
So the back pitch in Ireland, as we would call it.
yeah. That isn't waterlogged. It's just dirt.
Yeah.
So we've that's probably been the toughest thing, is to get fields for good games. I think all the cities kind of struggle at times. You can get on AstroTurf. It's probably your other option at times, and we probably played on them as well. I remember being down. We're down in Houston for Texas League, and we played on an Astro pitch. And this is probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And we had one of those heat radar guns, and it was like 150 degrees was the surface. So whatever that's in Celsius, it was.
Well, I know I know in Death Valley when I got out of the bus it was 127, and I think that was heading mid 40s, late 40s. So what the hell is 150? That has to be like 50 odd degrees.
Well, that was just a plain surface
Yeah.
so you could feel the heat burning up through your football boots. So
I wouldn't be bothered playing.
Given I'm here so long, correct me if I start using
No, it's great. I'll get the calculator out after. I'll translate it into what we know. Yeah. That's gas. So is it like, do the Irish find that hard? Is it something you actually adapt to, or do you ever really adapt to it?
You do adapt to it, I think, over time, but it does. There's a guy here. He was from Limerick, I think, and his club had done really well in the hurling club. I think they got the All Ireland intermediate, and he was training with them the next year and came back over here for the summer, and probably flying fit, great shape in Ireland. But you put him in front of 105 degrees, and there's a couple of guys who played intercounty, playing in Texas League for the various clubs, and you'd see it too. The guys who are here a couple of weeks, you put them out in that heat, and it's just draining. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what have you any county players of note that you can remember who was?
I know Austin and Dallas had guys. I can't think of their names now, but there's a guy off of Kerry Panel, Cavan, Donegal. I can't think of his name now. Clare.
All those average teams. No Westmeath lads, no.
I'm trying to think if there was any Westmeath.
We wouldn't melt if we were out there, to be fair. So
I think that, no. Not that I can remember. I don't think.
Yeah. You have a fairly good makeup, so by the sounds of it. Are you competing? Because I ask a few clubs, suppose, where you got big sports. Obviously, you guys have NFL and like the San Antonio Spurs and stuff. Are you competing against them in some ways to get adults in, or is it big enough that you don't have to worry about them?
It's trying to get the right type in, and what I mean by that is the social versus the serious, and you probably recruit more people who just want to come out for fun rather than the person who wants to train 5 days a week. If I was being fair,
you don't want them.
Yeah. It is one thing that probably was interesting to me when I first came here is, you come out of high school, unless you're playing college ball, whether that be basketball, American football, or baseball at a college level, there's not a whole lot of sports to keep playing. So it's a lot different than at home where, even if you're not that good, you play with the club at whatever level, either Gaelic or you play some soccer, or you do, hurling, or there'd be always something you could do if you want. You don't have that here. There is some soccer leagues. They play softball, not even baseball. When you come out of school, there's not a whole lot for you to play. Rugby there's a couple of teams here. Rugby, that seems to be getting bigger and bigger over here. So there is an opportunity to get folks to play. It's just, as I said, there's always a lot of change. If you're recruiting folks, either men or women in their 20s, a lot of the time they're still figuring out where they're going to be or what they're going to do, moving for work, marriage, kids, all that. So it's kind of, that's the thing, the turnover. So
what's the rivalry kind of like between the four of you then when you get together? Is it typical Irish stays on the pitch, or does it go beyond that?
It's kind of up. It's changed over the years, given the different levels. As I said, our first few years we were probably competitive with them, but then most recent years you're probably Dallas and Austin guys, and even Houston might have 10 Irish guys on the team compared to 1 or 2 here. So that changed the competitiveness.
Yeah.
They have 2 inter-county guys and the regular Irish guys, against a team brand new to this.
Yeah.
So rivalry, I can't really. I think you'd probably get different feedback from the different clubs.
Yeah.
It's always competitive. It's always a great social thing as well, because you do them events. We travel to Austin, Dallas, Houston. They travel here. Our biggest thing was, when do you do it? Try and do it before the heat of the summer, or else do it afterwards. So that's probably been the hardest thing for us to kind of plan. And then you have nationals, where over the years we've all probably gone to that at some stage, and that's a lot of fun as well. You have teams from all over Canada and America, and seeing the different levels, from us at junior level up to, the senior, where it's all top footballers over from Ireland for the summer.
Yeah, and what were the nationals like? Because I've met a couple of teams who've gone to nationals, and they all have similar kind of experiences. There's an enjoyment side to it, but there's a serious element to it as well, I suppose.
Yeah, it's tough at the junior level because that's where the most teams are.
Yeah.
So you have junior A, B, C, and now they've brought in a D. And the problem is, if you have mass teams, you get there, you play on a Friday morning, and if you don't win that first game, you're over for the weekend. That's it.
Yeah.
You'd have to play Friday, 2 games Saturday, and game Sunday to get to the final. And I think some of the Texas teams, I know Dallas and Austin have won different levels in the past. So it's a good weekend, but it's, for us, if you're not going to be overly competitive, it's tough because it's a big trip to plan.
Yeah.
You're out Friday morning, and that's where the Southwest do a tournament in Denver, and then San Diego Sevens. So we're hoping to do some of that. I know I wasn't at it, but we've got the Denver games before, and we're very keen to try and get a hurling and maybe football team out to the Sevens in San Diego as well.
Yeah, that sounds sounds like a good crack. And I know the next thing I have something I wanted to ask you as well. All the clubs have generally like a link to an Irish pub in some ways, even the most remotest clubs that I've come across in the world. Have you got a local Irish bar?
Yeah, there's a guy from down here, Tim, who runs Waxy O'Connor's on the.
Oh yeah, great name.
Yeah, there's plenty of them across the world. But interestingly enough, there's not a whole lot of Irish bars here. Irish, when I say Irish, run by Irish.
Yeah.
It's an interesting city because it's kind of urban sprawl. So there's 2 million, but it's a relatively new city in terms of the expansion. So it's kind of all spread out. There is Irish community here with the Harp and Shamrock and the ICS. But, I think we'd love to get our own field and kind of place to call home as such and kind of build off that. But, we don't have the 5 Irish pubs that you probably have in Dallas, or you have in Houston, or you have in Austin as much.
Okay, yes. And what's a good celebration like then with the gang after you win?
It's when you're running around 100 degrees heat, you have a good little thirst on you afterwards. It'll be fun.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. Do you remember your own debut actually? While I think of it,
for the club here.
Yeah, as in even management or whatever it may be.
It's a funny story because, as I said, there's probably at that stage we probably had 2 Irish guys on the team. So we got the kit from O'Neill's. Most of the guys didn't know what O'Neill's was and went up to play with Dallas, and they just heard we were putting a team together, and they didn't really know what that would look like. So they put out their B team. Some of their lady players were playing with them too, and I think they expected a mismatch.
Yeah,
and we turned up with this brand new O'Neill's kit, and then I had to convince all the local guys to put on the shorts, and that was it's a basketball city here, so they're used to it's
the knee length.
It's like as you'd say Catholic school here, the shorts have below the knee. And you're putting these things in, and you'd swear you're asking them to put on a pair of Speedos. And it was. I had a lot of fun watching. They were like, I've never seen grown men so uncomfortable wearing. But we went out and had a good game where they came down and played us again a couple of months later and brought their A team. So we had made enough of an impact that we did take it serious. So that was our kind of first foray, and everyone kind of got into it from there.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that sounds like a good story. I'd love to have seen a picture of that. That would be funny. All right.
We do have one of the guys used to play with us. We were those claims that he had the biggest pair of Gaelic football feet in GAA because he Jerome Quinn was over here for some of the events.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a good guy, and he was out of practice one day with us doing kind of interviewing people. And one of the guys playing for us was wearing a pair of 17 and a half.
Jesus Christ.
And they were too small for me, reckon he had to squeeze into them. So he done a little piece. It's probably somewhere in our social media, but it was our claim to fame for a while. I don't know.
The biggest feat. Yeah, definitely check that one out. Yeah, that's definitely one I'll have to.
You know, I could sleep in that. So
that sounds outrageous. I definitely have to check that one out. Yeah. Do you get to keep track of the GAA back home then with the time difference stuff, the Sunday game or any of that?
Yeah, I do. GAA Go has been great.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, you know, the service was awful.
Yeah.
You know, you'd always watch games here and get together for whether it's All Ireland's or even, you know, if someone's county was involved in a provincial. But, you know, the immediate players, you know, a couple of years ago was awful. You could never watch anything stop start. Where GAA Go now you can watch all the games. I watched Sligo again. Yeah, I grew up playing a lot of football at home, so I still have a big interest in it. You know, I spent 7 years in London as well, so I played with the they're playing last year's intermediate final in the next 2 weeks, so good luck to them in that.
Who was that you were with, sorry?
St. Brendan's.
Oh yes. Killian Doyle that hurls for Westmeath here is actually a St. Brendan's man now as well. He's down on the team sheet today. Has been St. Brendan's London on the county team sheet, so I don't think we've had one of them in Westmeath before, to be honest. So
no, I'm trying to think. Is it David Healy used to play centre back for Westmeath?
Damien Healy.
Yeah. I remember playing against him. We won the championship in 2005.
Right.
But, I'm trying to think who Tara, and he had over. I think he played with Salt Hill and come over, and we bet them in the final. So
yeah. He did. He moved to Salt Hill, Knocknacarra, but his original club is Rocher Bridge, who my brother plays with out the road here. So that's a good one, yeah. So you're the first time this morning, I think I read St. Brendan's on a team sheet, and I was looking at the Westmeath one. I said, geez, I don't know where they are. And now that's twice in the space of about 2 hours that I've heard their name.
Yeah,
so
we've won we're coming out with a, I think it's a 25 or 75 year anniversary.
Wow.
Keep an eye out for that.
Oh yeah, definitely keep an eye out.
At the moment. Yeah, we won. I was there for 7 years, and we won the championship in 2005 and played Dr. Crokes in the All Ireland quarter final that year. And I think, you know, the club's won it 3 times. They're in the intermediate final from last year too. So, you know, London's is kind of what I've been explaining. There's such a change of team each year. You know, my first year over there, we had a really good team. Lost the championship final in like 8 of the first 15 left for different reasons. So you had to rebuild completely, and we won it, funnily enough, the next year. So good luck.
That's great. Yeah, I had a mate actually who played out there. He was on the London team when they went in that run about whatever it was 8-9 years ago in Connacht. Greg Crowley, he scored one of the goals for London as well. He's an old club mate of mine back here. Well, he was actually good at football, whereas I was there to turn up and have the crack. That was about the height of it. So yeah, he was a very good midfielder. So yeah, that's I must look into that St. Brendan's a bit more, actually.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that because, you know, the bet's like in one of those games.
That's right, yeah.
I played a little bit with London when I went over there, so I have grow for them as well. So
okay, yeah. It's a pity, I suppose, they haven't sort of expanded on it a little bit. I thought after that season, maybe the next year they might kick on and come back, because they have a huge amount of teams. I've had a couple of the teams from around London and the UK on, and they've huge, massive numbers at the club, like.
Yeah, but I think it's the county team is the same though. There was, you know, when I was only involved when I first got over there for the first probably year, and again a changeover, and then just not enough games. You know, at the end of the day, if you're going over to play Leitrim in a National League game, you know, you're leaving Saturday morning early, getting into Dublin, getting on a bus down to Leitrim. Play a game, get back on it, back up to Dublin and fly home. And like, you're doing that every 2 weeks for, you know, I remember that first year I was over there, I was probably back 14 times that year. And,
jeez.
You know,
a lot of flights, yeah.
For, you know, half an hour drive from the pitch. That's what London's up against. You know, they've gone up a hell of a lot in professionalism and, you know, the building a team and everything. And you have a lot of local guys who are coming through underage and everything as well. And that's what we're trying to do here is get a little on the underage. We started some kids programs before COVID, so we need to kind of get them back here. And, you know, that's a tough one here because kids sports is so competitive here. The facilities are great. There's every sort of sports you can play. My daughter's 7.5, Chloe, and, you know, she's playing softball league now, basketball, you know, soccer, running, track, volleyball, you name it, they can play it. So it's this kids sports is big here, and you know, trying to fit in them to do kid stuff around that is what we plan to do. And then the heat, you have to kind of keep them out of the heat as well. So.
And what's the kids setup? Have you got like a name on it? I know one of the Q club so far that had one. They were the Grasshoppers, I remember. Is there any name on yours? Or
no, we haven't got to that stage yet. We done before COVID. We done 3 or 4 here last year, just kind of clinics, and we had done a few the year before. And USGAA have been very good in terms of helping out to build that, and you know, the other teams in Texas are trying to do the same. I know Austin are doing it, and Dallas and Houston as well. Okay. So we're trying to build that into our Texas League thing as well, because you know that's where you have a opportunity to build something long term is by getting the kids involved.
Yeah, so. That's deadly. Yeah, so I have to keep an eye out for that, and I'll expect an All-American team to be dominating from San Antonio in a couple of years' time, captained by Chloe.
bring them back to the Vela, the under-14 Vela.
Exactly, yeah. She'll have to get them involved. Yeah, that's class. There's one other thing actually I wanted to ask you, just on the fundraising side. I've got hugely varied things from teams who no longer have a sponsor because of COVID or never had a sponsor, up to the ones who would probably buy and sell most of the counties here. Where are you in terms of fundraising?
We're the same. We've had a really good board over the years, and you know, we've been kind of fiscally responsible, so you know we're never out of cash, but it's the same. It's tough trying to get someone to. We're getting a new kid at the moment.
Okay.
The local Irish societies have been on board. Primo and Nunley have been great in sponsoring us down to the years with Harp and Shamrock and ICS. But trying to get that main sponsor, you know, we've gone through a few over time, and you know, they might be in for 1 year, and you know, it is tough, and especially when you don't have, you know, if you had 4 Irish bars in town, you know, you've a little bit of competition, and they're probably trying to get it, and it's you know, COVID, although the economy is pretty strong here, even through COVID, it's still hard to get that. You know, we're a non-profit, so it's tax deductible if you wanted to sponsor us. So with that going, so but it is, we're right in the middle of that right now. We have a meeting on Thursday, trying to figure that out and get someone to step up and come on board, and you know, get kids for the year ahead.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I presume it's normally the last thing I ask other clubs, but just since we're on it, I presume people over here, I'm trying to, on the Instagram page, try to push the jerseys and stuff to see if people will, you know, be interested. I presume your gear and stuff is available on O'Neill's at the moment, even when the new kit comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, so push people to the O'Neill's page.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing. You can get, you know, they're unique jerseys, aren't they? Because you know, that's the whole selling point. These GAA jerseys popping up all over the world, and you know what they look like and what you can add to them. Yeah,
everyone loves a good jersey. I've got my South Africa Gales one on at the moment, so you can't beat a good jerseys. A lot of lads like love, you know, random jerseys turned up at training, like on a conversation starter, and you're like, what the hell is that? Like, I bought my brother one of the Q8 jerseys from the girl I was chatting to the other day. Like, it's just, that's the kind of stuff that you want. You want to find the random ones as well. So, right. So push people to the O'Neill's website. So,
yeah, and we're in discussions right now with Body Bro. I think they're to come in as our new sponsors. So, kind of looking forward to that. And it's kind of been interesting. I'm out of Ireland 15 years. You know, you know, you had O'Neill's, Connolly, and Azori came along after that.
That's right. Yeah.
And now there's, you know, 20.
I name out. Yeah.
So that's been, you know, I grew up, we won a the club at home, Cloncool, won an intermediate in '97. I think I was 17 at the time. We won it, and it was like the first time that our club had won something.
Yeah.
We consider senior, and you got a polo shirt to get to county final. Where now, every level has tracksuits and polo gear, and like you had the jersey for the game, and if you got to a final, you got a polo shirt, and that was different times.
Yeah, I didn't even have that here. I don't think I ever got to a final in anything, and I would have stayed just to get the nice polo shirts and stuff, but sadly not. No.
Well, I played from 17. I left Ireland at 24.
Okay.
We probably had two kits in that time, and with San Antonio, we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we had 2 public kits, 5, 6. So we've got 6 kits in 10 years. So we're more like Man Utd, where we'll be bringing out a alternative third kit for the season. So
if it's as good as Man United's jerseys, then you're on to a winner.
Yeah.
You definitely can't beat a good United jersey. I have to ask actually as well. There's a couple other questions I want to try. Then there's a little kind of quick fiery round at the end. There's San Antonio based questions. It's not a history test or anything. Don't worry. They're as stupid as you get. You'll see. The toughest Irish person at the club. Every club usually has a generic stereotype of lunatic on the pitch. Have you got your one?
I think with a hurl in his hand, it's definitely Kevin Mcmanus.
Sounds like a Monaghan name, but where's he from?
He's down.
Okay.
I was going to say Ballyraggett, but he'd get mad with me because that's the club next door.
Okay.
He was a minor hurler with Down in '89.
Wow. Okay.
He can hurl, and he's fairly loose with the hurl, so that's why I kind of would refer to him.
Okay, she'll take him so as the one yet. You yourself, I suppose, having come from a GAA background, are you on the Marty party or the Des Cahill fan?
Oh, Marty party.
Okay, that's a very definite one. So, if you could bring San Antonio to Ireland and take on a county, who do you think you'd have the most chances against?
Mayo.
Nice. Yeah, I like it.
Because as a Sligo man, my plan would be to just tell them it's a final, and there's a good chance we're going to win no matter what team they put out.
Nice, I like that. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. Have you introduced Father Ted to the Texan community?
Yeah.
Yes, good man.
Educate them on all things Irish. My wife she's Bianca's from here, but Mexican heritage. But my daughter is full on Irish. Everything Shamrocks. Sligo in Ireland, so we kind of have a laugh about that. She's trying to bring her Hispanic culture in as well, but she's as Irish as you can get now. Running on her little Sligo jerseys on.
Okay, I couldn't imagine Father Ted in Hispanic somehow, but be interesting concept. Yeah, have you a favorite Father Ted episode? I always ask since I'm a lunatic.
Probably the one where the theme park comes.
Oh, it's the first ever episode. Yeah. Can't go wrong. I only watched that last night randomly enough for no reason whatsoever, only that it just happened to be on. So, and then I put you on the spot maybe for the last one before the quickfire ones. You can take your time. There's no panic. But who is in your lifetime, who's been the greatest GAA player? Could be Neil Ewing, could be Eamon O'Hara, could be who knows who it could be.
I think growing up, I was lucky enough because I played underage with Sligo, so I kind of got to see a lot of guys, and then I worked with AIB Bank, and there was a lot of good footballers there as well. So probably growing up, Maurice Fitz, just quality off the 2 feet. I was 17 in Croke Park, when he bet me on his own. So not only did I see one of the best players I've ever seen live, but I also got to see him beat Mayo. So that was
that's brilliant. Yeah, I like that one because the 20th anniversary is today of the 20th year of Semple Stadium, that famous game against Dublin. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that later on. Yeah. He was probably the one that kind of stood out the most. I was lucky enough to come across Seamus Moynihan in the Interbank, and just quality footballer.
there's a lot out there that I've either seen or been on a field with, and just quality. You go back now, they've got the support between diets, physios, everything. Them boys were, just having to do a lot of it themselves back then. I played for 6 months with Thomas Davis in Dublin before I moved to London.
Oh, pretty good, yeah. I had a Thomas Davis man on the podcast, Zach Maradi, Elytra man.
Okay, yeah. That was after my time. But Paul Curran was still playing at that stage, and Paul was just another guy who's just absolute quality, both on and off the field. So Mick Bohan was manager at the time, and you can see I can see now how successful he's been, because he was the same. I'd come off 2 bad injuries. When I was 20, I busted my knee and my shoulder. Then when I was 23, so I hadn't played any sport, and much football, and I went in there. It was as professional as an inter-county squad was at that time. He was kind of nearly, not before his time, but probably, stepping up that commitment and expectation. So there was a good experience out there in California, as we would say.
Oh, that's gas. I only mentioned California, funnily, the other day, because I had the guys from Jersey Shore GAA on. Yeah. And that's one of their quick fire had to throw in, California versus Jersey Shore type thing. But I hadn't mentioned that in forever, and I've mentioned it twice, I'd say, in a week now. So that's gas, yeah. All good answers. I like those ones. The quick fire ones is only a few. I know you've been out of Ireland a little while, so you can say half a clue if you don't know for one or two of them, because they're maybe a little bit different. But first one, I'll go with San Antonio Spurs or Spurs, the soccer team.
Oh, San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, good choice. No one likes Spurs anyway. AT&T or Crow Park?
AT&T. Crow Park. Are you talking about Jerry World?
It's AT&T the stadium? Is that not? Am I in the wrong?
Well,
place?
No. You've got it's the Spurs stadium here. But I was worried you were referring to AT&T in Dallas, which is the Cowboys. And
okay.
Cowboys are. No, I'm not a fan, so I just want to clarify that first. So no, Crow Park is,
Yeah, the Mecca, as they say. Yeah, no, it's just I'm fairly new to the lads are mad into NFL and that kind of thing. I picked the Broncos because it was the first stadium that I ever went to in America, and I know shit all about the game, to be honest. But the lads are huge Seahawks fans and Packers fans, and I'm just there. Why is that a foul? I don't understand what's going on. So yeah, I'm still learning the game.
I'm a Texans fan for my.
Okay.
It's tough going, but it's actually funny you mentioned the American football. That was probably one of the biggest struggles to get the Americans to play football. Was they're used to going on and playing one play.
So
or a linebacker or a corner, you had one play and then you get a break again to figure it out.
Yeah.
You get these guys who've done that all through their, growing up, and you tell them to go out and run around for 30 minutes and figure it out. And they're like, but can we not have some plays? And I'm like, figure it out. That was a little bit of a culture crossover is, they kind of nearly wanted instructions because that's how they played their sport. And you're kind of going out there, mark that guy and try and get on the ball.
Yeah. I didn't think of that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's the Mick O'Dwyer playbook maybe as opposed to the NFL playbook.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, I haven't thought of that. I must ask the other American teams when they come on if they've had similar kind of thoughts. That's a good one, actually. The next one then is the Texan-made film The Newtown Boys, which I think was Matthew McConaughey. Or I don't know if you're familiar with these guys since you're gone out of Ireland. The Hardy Bucks.
Well, the Hardy Bucks are... grew up pretty close to me. So
that's right, yeah.
Swinford. So I'm South Sligo. So I spent my youth in a nightclub up just outside Swinford called Julian's. So if I was a betting man, them boys were probably running around the same time. So
you haven't recruited the Viper Higgins in yet to your team, no?
It's funny watching it because you're kind of watching it and it's on Netflix here randomly enough, and I'm like, I know Swinford pretty well.
Yeah.
And you're kind of looking and you're going, I probably recognize them guys from back in the day running around Julius.
Yeah. You could have a good midfield next year of Eddie Durkin and the Viper Higgins if you played your cards right.
Yeah. Get
That
them
would be
over
brilliant.
here.
Yeah, get them over, yeah.
I don't know if Eddie would do well in this sun, though.
No, I'd say he wouldn't know. He'd probably be the first to melt, I'd say, more than likely. The next one then is Texan and possibly, I can't remember offhand, San Antonio, but definitely Texan musician Steve Earl and Earl, or the great Dermot Early over here. Earl versus Early.
Well, you're talking about Early the Roscommon, Dermot
Yeah.
Early?
Yes, the original.
The original, not Junior. I suppose he's a Connacht man, so I'll have to go Dermot Early.
Okay, I'll take that. I like the way you thought about it. You were like, will I piss the Roscommon people over here, or will I stick with him? Yeah, I like that.
I don't know how good the Earl guy here was as a midfielder, so I'll probably go with Early.
More of a musical great, I would say, than a good midfielder, to be honest. Yeah. And then second last one is I've never heard of this because Texas is one of the states I've never been to, but Church's Chicken apparently is very famous in Texas, or Supermax.
Supermax.
Okay.
Supermax, yeah, Supermax and a curry chip at 3:00 in the morning. I don't know. It's kind of one of the things you do miss. You can't get curry chip here.
Okay.
Well, funny enough, actually, there's an Irish guy, older gentleman who lives here in San Antonio, and he was, I think, the CFO of Church's Chicken.
No way.
So it's funny you brought up Church's Chicken because there is an Irish connection there.
That's like definitely that's a new one.
So sounds like after this you're going to have to make plans to come to Texas for a Texas league.
Oh, 100% if I would, yeah. Like we've been, I think myself and my wife, like she's the one who organised the travels. We're both primary school teachers, so our holidays are very set in stone for 3 years in advance. So she's a bit of a wizard at finding places to go. And I think like in America alone, I think I've managed to go through and actually properly visit like 24, 25 states. So Texas though is not actually one I've been to, and it's my friend, one of my good friends, his wife has been out there before and has said it's amazing, and I really want to see what it's like. So yeah, I will go out for a Texas league at some stage. I can't guarantee it will be any use whatsoever. I can coach pretty well, but other than that, no.
It is interesting because it's the fact the size of, we're right in the middle, and one way you're 10 hours to get out of it.
Yeah,
we're right in the middle, and you're from top to bottom, I don't know, you've probably talked about 15, 18 hours driving. So
that's funny you picked that number, because on a holiday I was on before, there was a Texas family and they were explaining how their daughter lives their one side and their daughter lives the other side, and I was like, oh, what's the drive time? And they were like, it's about 19 hours. I was like you get up and down Ireland about 5 times in that time. So like,
well, it's like we go up to Dallas and it's probably with traffic, it's probably 5-hour drive, and
that's Donegal to Cork here, like.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But that's Donegal to Cork because of traffic.
Yeah,
it's you're halfway across Europe if you're trying to get out of Texas, and that's where we struggle at times to get the Texas League going, is because of travel and getting commitments and stuff. But it's been great to be able to do it. But this has got a little bit of everything, a lot of fishing and stuff down on the coast. You've got some decent beaches, and then you've got the parks out in West Texas, and I've been out in the oil patch in Odessa and Midland.
Oh, nice.
That's another different world out there. And then Dallas is a lot different to Houston, to Austin, to San Antonio. So a little bit of everything, to be honest. It's cool.
Sounds like short flights across Europe, to be honest, rather than I have to go out and locate Stone Cold Steve Austin as well. Obviously, been a big wrestling fan as a kid. I'm sure he's out there somewhere. I'll find him.
I think he played cornerback for Austin probably about 5 years ago in the Texas League.
Okay, we'll you sure you should keep him? Like he wouldn't be a lad you'd shoulder out of the way too quickly anyway, put it that way. So
if you could turn him, you're fine, but if you didn't get by him, you're in trouble.
Oh, you were bet. The last one then you can choose between since I know you're a Texans fan now, so the Texans in Super Bowl or Sligo in the All Ireland?
Oh, it has to be Sligo in the All Ireland.
Okay. Which one is more likely to happen?
Sligo in the All Ireland. If I could add to that, Sligo in the All Ireland playing Mayo.
Oh, wow, there's the real Connacht is coming out in you now. Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
Sligo, Mayo on the All Ireland final. Okay, well, I was going to say we'll try and make it happen, but we can't.
But you have to, you heard it here first. We didn't play last year, so there's not a lot known about us coming into the championship. Keep an eye out on that.
Okay, well, by the time this goes out, Sligo will have definitely be gone out of the championship anyway, because it'll be like October. But hopefully they'll have won the All Ireland, and I'll be able to ring you up and we'll have a chat about that then after. Yeah.
Yeah. I've last time Sligo played New York, I was up at that, and that's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's class. Yeah, a friend from diehard GAA fan, she goes to that if Galway are playing.
It's a great, like, it was packed out, and I get home typically every 2 years, and you only get that time to catch up with family, and it's one couple, my local friends at home.
Yeah,
don't really have the time to catch up with everything, so it's kind of nice because you got to catch up with a lot of old friends. Some of the guys are still playing, some of the guys are still involved with Sligo, and you got to see all them that you hadn't probably seen in a long, long time. So I don't know when the next time or how they're doing it because of the last 2 years, or did they just stop it, or they're staying in rotation. So hopefully get up to the next one again as well.
That's brilliant. Yes.
Hurling All Stars were in Austin there a couple of years ago. So
okay,
that was fun.
Did you get to take them on, or?
No, we had a game. The locals, we picked 2 teams out of Texas here, played beforehand. So to be honest, there was probably a bigger crowd watching us. It was, I can't confirm that for certain, but I think a lot of them headed off after us. So the All Stars did a few, but it was, I think we were the big draw that day.
Yeah, the curtain raiser sometimes is better than the real thing, isn't that what they say? So yeah, okay, we'll take that for sure. Yeah. So if anyone wants your gear and stuff, it's on O'Neill's at the moment, and I'll update people on any changes to that. And then is there anyone, Adrian, you want to give a shout out to back home or anywhere around?
Everyone in Clunacool GAA club. Again, St. Brendan's, best of luck in, I think it's the 5th, 6th of June in the intermediate final in London. And that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, look, thanks a million for coming on. You're very good to give up your, was it early morning there? It must be.
Yeah, it's 8:47 right now.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
I've got a 7-year-old who gets up at 6 o'clock. So.
Okay, fair enough. This is late morning for you. So yeah, but yeah, look, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been great chatting about San Antonio, and we'll keep in touch on the WhatsApp and stuff.
And it's a great thing you're doing, because it's only when you move out of Ireland you realise how many teams there are and what they're doing, and you're seeing that more than anyone right now.
Yeah,
I've played back in the day with AIB Bank. We used to send a junior team over to the European
games,
and they were forward in Barcelona one year, and we went out to Guernsey for a trip as well.
Nice.
And there's teams everywhere, and that was 15 years ago. So
yeah, I've uncovered clubs that I think, in fairness, if I've been honest, I've only kind of realised it lately when I listen back to some of the 29 or 30 I've done already. Like, I think I have the best vantage point in the world of any human being at the moment of the GAA, because I don't think anyone in the world has as much linkage with that many clubs from all the continents. It is kind of, I've been very lucky as well. So
yeah, and I think it'll keep growing, and you're going to be busy every every week, every evening, if you want to talk to all these folks.
Yeah, it's kind of taken off. As I said, it's only started as an email and a couple of DMs on Instagram, kind of hitting one per continent. And I was getting messages. Oh, we heard that Johnny from this club is coming on. We want to come on as well. I was like, right. Yeah. So I'll keep you updated on how Sligo are doing. Don't worry. Yeah, you won't be missing out.
If it's going to be October, you be as well hold us off for the Christmas edition.
Okay. Any particular reason? Now, I had one of the girls from home here was on with Warwickshire, and she left a Christmas message already. So. But Adrian, yeah, look, I'll let you go, and mind yourself, and I'll keep in touch with you for sure on the WhatsApp, and if you need it, and give us a shout anyway.
Pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Mind yourself. Take it easy. Sloan, good luck. Coming up the next day on the Loaf of Bread GAA Global, we cut into our next slice.
So I'll tell you a little bit of a backstory from the actual conversation of how the club came about, and I hope I'm not skewering it for Oisín Doyle. Oisín Doyle and Owen Toomey, our chairperson and vice chairperson, were walking the seawall, I think, over in North Van, and over a coffee they decided that like we were getting way too high numbers at ISSC. The city needed another club, and I think just from then the idea was born, and then they approached another few lads that wanted to help with forming the club. St. Finian's was something that came about from both Oisín and Owen, I believe. Don't know the full story and why it was chosen, but just for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to say Owen's middle name is Finian, so I think it's a complete and utter vanity project for Owen Toomey. So, and in no way is he a saint.
I say a big thank you to Adrian and make my way to the next destination. And coming up on Monday next on the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, on Slice 29 I fly from the south of the USA up to the western city of Vancouver in the beautiful Canada, one of my favourite places in the world. It is here I meet the gent himself, Patrick Quayle, former Fermanagh goalkeeper and now co-founder of the St. Finian's GAA club in the city. We chat all about his time with Fermanagh and the teammates, playing with the ISSC GAA before starting up St. Finian's, life in Vancouver, Father Ted chats, and much more. That's next Monday morning from 9 AM as I continue the journey with 2 slices a week. I'll see you at the arrivals hall, but until then, check out the various clubs on the Instagram page and see all the amazing work they do and some of the nicest GAA gear going. Find the podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on TikTok. Email loafofbreadpod@gmail.com, or just simply hit the follow button and spread the word of the Loaf of Bread GAA pod across the globe. Slánagí.